Hello everybody, welcome to Cosmic Waves Tarot. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm so happy to see you. Today we have our Fall Equinox reading, so I'm going to be drawing 2 tarot cards per sign to give us a sense of what we might be able to expect from this Fall Equinox to the winter solstice. I highly recommend that you watch for your rising sign as well as your sun and moon signs so that you really get a good sense of what might be coming up ahead for you in these next few months. Also, if you're interested, I recommend watching my previous video for the summer solstice to see if that was true for you over these past few months, and it might kind of remind you of what you have gone through already, where you have been, so that you can be prepared for what's ahead. You can also see if that held true for you or not, and it might give you some insight into these next few months as well. So without further ado, I'm just going to start with the first sign of the zodiac, which is Aries, and I'll go through the entire chart, reading for all 12 signs. The signs should be linked below, so feel free to watch all of the signs if you're interested, or you can skip right to the ones that are applicable to you. Also, if you want to see what's going on with your loved ones, I recommend that you watch perhaps for your partner, your spouse, your roommate, a family member, anyone who you want to know what's going on with their life as well. So I'm just going to shuffle and read for each sign, asking for some good insight into what we can expect these next few months, and perhaps giving some advice along the way. So thank you again for being here. I really hope you enjoy this video, and I'll see you for your sign reading. Alright, let's go ahead and get started with the reading for Aries. Aries, being the first sign of the zodiac, always gets kind of the first draw. So I'm just going to shuffle the tarot now and ask for some insight as to what my Aries friends can expect these next few months ahead from now until the winter solstice. Happy fall equinox to everyone, by the way. If you're in the northern hemisphere where I am and the leaves are turning, it's a beautiful time. So I hope everyone is enjoying the season. Alright, Aries, I'm going to shuffle one more time and let's see what comes up for you during this period of time. It looks like we have the 7 of Cups and the World. These are 2 very interesting cards together, and I think they make a lot of sense when you kind of break them down. We have one major arcana card, the World, and one minor arcana card, the 7 of Cups. I'll start with the major arcana since that is kind of the more important card. It sends the stronger signal to me when I'm reading tarot. So we have the World here, and it's this beautiful woman who is floating in the middle of the sky. She's surrounded by this wreath, which symbolizes victory, and she has these mystical animals and creatures around her. She's holding these batons, she's in this ribbon. She just looks super magical, victorious, a bit mystical. And the World is the last card of the major arcana in the tarot. It symbolizes a great victory and the end of a chapter. It's like when you've gone through this video game and you've beaten all the levels, all the bosses, and you come to the final boss and you win, and it's the end screen credits. That's the feeling of the World. It's like, wow, you've done it, you've accomplished something huge, you've really made your mark, and now this chapter is wrapping up. Something has finished. And so the World is a very, very exciting card. It means that you're on the right track. you really did something well, and you deserve to celebrate that. So it's super awesome to see that in these next few months, you will experience some sort of real achievement, some sort of end of a chapter that you've really been working hard on, and you'll have this opportunity to celebrate and really look back on your accomplishments. When the world comes up, it's time for you to just take a step back, have a breather, enjoy all the fruits of your labor, and really be proud of how far you've come. So that is so great for you, Aries. I'm really excited to see this come up. We do, though, also have this Seven of Cups. And cups in the tarot correspond to our emotions, our internal realm, our relationships with other people. And this is the water sign of the tarot. So it's that very kind of intuitive, watery type of emotion. Here we can see the silhouette of a man who is standing before this cloud with all these different things in these cups. So we have this beautiful person, we have a castle, we have jewelry, this laurel wreath again symbolizing victory, this kind of snake and dragon. So you can see that there's a lot going on. And this figure looks kind of overwhelmed in this corner. He's taking a step back saying, whoa, what's going on here? This is kind of spooky. This is crazy. And so this card comes up when you're making a decision, but you feel a little bit trapped by all the possibilities. You feel overwhelmed with the choices that are in front of you, and you feel like you're kind of getting that decision fatigue where you keep bouncing back between choices, but you're not getting any closer to actually making a decision. And so this figure is stepping back in overwhelm because he's not sure which cup to pick. He's not sure where he should focus his emotions and his energy, what he should really pour into. And so this can be somewhat of an issue. As a minor arcana card, it is not an overwhelming, huge energy that will be present in your life, but it does look like you might kind of hit some stagnation in that way, some overwhelm, which really binds you in this state where you feel like you can't move forward. And so I can see that perhaps this could play out one of two ways. Either you accomplish something and tie up a chapter, which symbolized here by the world, and then you're not sure where you should go next because you've just achieved this overwhelming victory, and then you think, oh, I should follow this up with something, but where do I go from here? What do I do next? That can be a really challenging energy to have to deal with, especially when your accomplishment has really defined your life for the past while, and then you don't have that same drive and sense of identity that you did before. On the other hand, you might be dealing with this energy first, the Seven of Cups, and then the victory of the world might be finally choosing a path and really diving concretely into that and accomplishing something there. So this really could go either way. I do kind of see both playing out depending on the circumstances. And of course, the energy always ebbs and flows. So you might have some of each at different points throughout this next period here until the winter solstice. So all in all, it doesn't look like too difficult of a time for you. The most important thing to deal with this Seven of Cups energy is just to pick a path. Just make a decision. Don't get too hung up on what is perfect, and just make the next best decision for you based on the information you have right now. And I really do believe that that will lead you to a great accomplishment with the world. So that's all for you, Aries. I'm moving on now to the next sign of the zodiac. Next up, we have our reading for Taurus, the second sign of the zodiac, our wonderful earth sign friends who are stubborn but very steadfast and just very solid people. I do love you, Taurus. So I'm just shuffling the cards now and asking the tarot for some good insight to share with all the Taurans out there, wherever it is in your chart, for some insight into the next few months that what might be lying ahead. All right, we have the 8 of Swords and the Page of Swords. 2 Swords cards for you here, Taurus. Swords in the tarot correspond to the mind, logic, our kind of critical thinking side of our brain. Not as much the emotional side, really just focused on the mental aspect. So we have 2 cards. One is very energetic and one is a little bit more restricted. So there is a little bit of a tension here, but of course energy can ebb and flow throughout the time and these upcoming months. So I'm guessing you'll experience a little bit of both at different points as we move forward in time. Let's start with the bad news first. The 8 of Swords depicts this woman standing and she's all bound up with a blindfold on, surrounded by these swords that are planted in the ground. And this card comes up when we're experiencing some sort of mental block or something that we're causing ourselves to get in our own way. As you can see, this woman is really not in any danger. She's standing here, but the swords are all down in the ground. They're not posing any threat to her, but they're just kind of boxing her in a somewhat uncomfortable situation. So this card comes up when maybe we're putting up mental blocks in our own mind, or we're telling ourselves, I can't do something, I'm not sure about this. Is this really the best way to go? I don't know if I can do it. Those type of things. Or maybe there's something that you really want to accomplish, but you kind of tell yourself, well, it won't happen for me because this, I don't know the right people, I don't have the right resources. And those things might be true right now, but by telling yourself those same facts, they really become grounded in your mind, and then you're just solidifying that reality that you're not resourced properly, that you don't have the right connections, the right skills, and it just self-perpetuates to the point where it becomes true for you. And so this can always change. This doesn't mean that this is the situation forever and ever, but it's just important to recognize when we start getting caught in these patterns and we start having this sort of self-talk where we're putting up these swords around ourselves and we're tying ourselves into this type of situation. So if you see this come up, it's really important to try and break out of this. And it looks like you have a good friend here with the Page of Swords to be able to do that. Pages in the tarot, I kind of think of them like a little apprentice or an intern, because it's a very youthful energy, but one filled with enthusiasm and energy. You can kind of think of a teenager or a preteen. They just really are curious about a lot of things. They have a lot of energy. They want to run around. They want to be like adults. And they don't have the full maturity yet to necessarily make all the decisions that a adult would. But they just have a ton of enthusiasm and a real desire to learn and improve in whatever area of your life that the card corresponds to. So here it looks like, because this is a sword and we have a page, you really want to pour a lot of energy into your intellect, maybe what you know. You're trying to advance your knowledge and your skills, or maybe you're trying to think about things in a different way. So maybe you're interested in trying out meditation or participating in trivia or just learning new things about the world. That will help stimulate this kind of mental, intellectual energy in your life. And so you don't need to do this perfectly. This isn't anything that, we're expecting a beautiful performance on. The page just says, go out there and try your best and learn. It's okay if you stumble and fall. It's okay if you fail. Just get out there and put your energy into it. And so I think these two cards together, they do kind of play off each other, because you might have something that you're like, yes, I want to do this. I want to learn. I want to grow. And then the other voice in your head says, well, I'm not sure if I'm ready. I'm not sure if I can right now. I'm not sure if I have the resources. So then you might get caught here for a minute. But then this voice comes back and says, no, you know what? I can do it. I am going to throw my energy into this. So I know everyone has this kind of back and forth play in their mind, and that is super common. So in this upcoming few months, during this fall season, try to lean more heavily on this Page of Swords to break you out of this Eight of Wands energy. And I think you will indeed develop a lot in terms of your mental capacity, your intellect, just how you think about the world in these next few months. So that is it for Taurus. Let's move on to our next sign, which is Gemini. All right, next up we have our reading for Gemini. And I must confess, my sun sign is Gemini, so I'm very interested in this reading specifically. All right, just shuffling and asking the tarot for some insight for all my Geminis out there, my air sign friends. Let's see what we have in store coming up. We have the King of Pentacles and the Sun. Oh my goodness, what a beautiful pair, and I am so happy to see these two cards, and especially for you, Gemini. Two really awesome, really wonderful energies that I really hope everyone gets to experience to the fullest extent coming up here. Let's start with the major arcana, which is the Sun. As you can see, it depicts a naked baby riding on this white horse. He's carrying this flag that is beautifully furling behind him with these sunflowers and this sun that's just beaming down. The Sun is one of the best cards of the tarot. I absolutely love it because it is so optimistic, so positive, and so beautiful. The young child represents growth, optimism, a bright future ahead. It means there's a lot to look forward to, things that have not yet come to pass, but that will be coming. And the warm, bright yellow sun, which has this kind of benevolent, neutral expression, just shows that everything will be okay. It's warming us up. It is shining its light upon all of us. So when this card comes up, it means that things are really going well. So if you've been having a hard time over the past few months, things are going to start turning around. The sun is coming through the clouds for you, and things will really start improving. And even if things have been going well, it just means that the good vibes will continue from now until the winter solstice at least. So I'm so happy to see this card come up. It is so optimistic, so joyful, and it just reminds us that we should really celebrate this time and not take it for granted when things are really good in our life. It's easy to kind of just fall into a trap of comparison sometimes and look at our life compared to other people's, maybe what we see on social media, and to feel a little bit small or that we want more out of life. And it's always good to have goals and ambitions, but it's also just really important to focus on our blessings and to understand that when things are really good, we have a lot to be grateful for. And so I really hope that whatever is happening in your life, you really feel this sun. It can really touch upon every area too. So whether your family relationships are improving or your work life is improving, it just really kind of brings this beautiful, bountiful energy to all areas of the life, which is so good to see. So we love the sun, super happy to see the sun. It is beautiful. And it is supported by this really wonderful card, the King of Pentacles. Pentacles in the tarot correspond to our material realm. So it's everything we can touch and feel, including our money, our health, our home, things of that nature. The king represents the most mature and secure expression of this energy. The king is the ruler, he's in charge, he's very decisive, he's smart and mature. So the king with these pentacles just shows that we are very, very secure and comfortable in our material realm. So we're feeling extremely confident in our resources. We feel on top of our home life. We feel like our health is really good and that we're really doing a great job taking care of ourselves. We have the wisdom to make good decisions, and we just have the power and security to know that we're going to be okay at the end of the day. So I'm really happy to see these two cards together because the sun is, it is a true energy, but it looks like it's not just a masquerade, or it's not just covering up something that is actually difficult in our lives. It looks like things will also really be improving in a material way, which these two cards just feed off each other and really complement each other in a very positive way. The king, too, represents long-term security. The king is not going anywhere. He's the ruler for life. And so oftentimes when the King of Pentacles comes up, it shows that perhaps our investments are really good, or the type of permanent move in terms of real estate is really working out for us. So if that is something that you've been focused on and trying to grow your resources in that way, focusing on this really kind of long-term, almost semi-permanent investment seems like it is a good way to go here. You can even just visually see these cards are very bright, they're very beautiful, and so it is just a really wonderful feeling. Also, you can see this theme of the sunflowers, and the King of Pentacles has these grapes on his gown and these vines growing all around him. All this vegetation and growth symbolizes, fertility, growth, positivity. These things are developing, they're coming forward to life. So it's not just a sterile, dead card. This is very much a living, ongoing thing that is very, very positive to see. So Gemini, congratulations on these two really wonderful cards. Like I said, I hope you experience it to the fullest extent, and perhaps check the house that Gemini is in your chart, which might give you some more insight as to where you can expect this energy. So that is it for you, Gemini. Let's move on now to the next sign of the zodiac. All right, our next sign is Cancer, our wonderful water signs. I'm just going to shuffle the tarot now and ask for some insight for our Cancer friends. And I will say my moon is in Cancer, so I feel a special affinity for this sign as well. Do one more shuffle and we'll draw some cards to see what's coming up from now until the winter solstice ahead. All right, Cancer, we have the Four of Pentacles and the Page of Wands. Two minor arcana cards, two positive cards. These are both good signs. One is a little bit more energetic than the other, but I think they both have their place and they complement each other in a different way. It's not immediately obvious perhaps, but having one Wands card and one Pentacles card, it does give us an opportunity to look at different areas of our life over these next few months. So let's start with the Pentacles. The Four of Pentacles depicts this man clinging tightly to one coin. He has two other coins beneath his feet and one atop his head. His expression is pretty neutral, and the card in the background is also this very neutral kind of gray color. It doesn't pop out as super bright, but it's also not a dark, gloomy card. And this card is all about conservation and, in a way, about balance. So this man who's holding this pentacle, he's dressed very well and he has a crown on his head. So we know that he is secure, he's wealthy, he doesn't really need to beg for money, he has enough. But he's clinging so tightly to this coin that he looks like a little bit stressed that he won't lose this coin. So it's not the most generous or free-flowing energy either. This Four of Pentacles card comes up either in two situations. So either we need to focus more on conserving our resources, or we need to lighten up and be a little bit more generous with them. Pentacles in the tarot do correspond to our money, resources, our health, our home, everything that is material in this realm. And so this card really invites us to reflect and kind of look ourselves in the mirror and say, okay, how have we been acting with respect to these areas of my life? Have I been really conservative? Have I been too loose with my resources? Have I just been like spending money like crazy and giving it all away? Or have I been kind of depriving myself of some things in life that I would like to enjoy? So if you've been super, super strict with yourself, not even letting yourself enjoy, a meal out here and there, and just really being too conservative for no clear reason, it's maybe time to loosen your grip on this coin a little bit. You can enjoy some nice things, you can be generous with others, and just really open up your life a little bit without losing control. And so it's a good exercise to kind of see where you're at on that spectrum. On the other hand, if you've been just like really free-flowing, it might be time to kind of rein it in and take care of yourself first before just losing your money and spending it on things you don't necessarily need. And that's true for all kinds of things. So if you haven't been taking care of your health, maybe you should focus on that more. But if you've just been eating chicken and rice and going to the gym every single day for the past 4 months, hopefully you're in great shape. But it's a reminder to just live a little bit, and you can have a treat every now and then without ruining your gym diet. These are just examples, of course, but you can find what resonates for you. So this card is pretty neutral. It's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just a mirror that invites us to reflect, and you can make your decisions about how to proceed from there. Then we also have the Page of Wands. Wands in the tarot correspond to our energy, our passion, vitality, sexuality. It's that kind of vital life force type of energy. And pages in the tarot, I think of them like the intern or the apprentice of the tarot. They kind of have that energy of a young person who just really wants to learn. They have a lot to give, a lot of enthusiasm and energy. They're maybe not the most mature yet, but that's okay. Their enthusiasm makes up for their experience. And so it looks like you might have a passion project or something that just really is exciting and invigorating to you. And it's probably not something that you're an expert at, so it might be unrelated to your job, or it might be a new area that you're just starting to dip your toe into. And you kind of feel like you just really want to get in there and learn, and you don't care if you have to be doing it perfectly. You don't care if you're not an expert, you're ready to be an amateur, and you're ready to just soak up all the knowledge and experience that you can. And so this is a really fun, I think, card that kind of counterbalances this Four of Pentacles energy, because this says, you know what, let's go out and experience life. Let's just try new things. Let's see where our passion takes us. And it brings kind of a sense of whimsy and energy into your life where that might be lacking with the Four of Pentacles. So these two cards together remind us that there's a time and a place for everything. If you have a passion project that you're super excited about and you're diving into, maybe you can put a little bit of your resources towards that. On the other hand, if you feel like you just drop a ton of money on a potential new hobby, but then you never follow up with it, and you do this repeatedly so that you're just trying new things and dumping more money into different projects, it might be time to kind of reflect on that and say, okay, what is really a priority? What do I really want to do? And what can I scale back on and maybe take a step away from? So these two cards together can actually support each other very well. And I think they can be very useful in a practical way for you over these next few months. So just take a look at your life, do a little bit of inventory, maybe a little journaling. What are you clinging on to? And what are you looking for in your energy, your passion? How do those two areas of your life interact? How do they talk to each other? And if there's not harmony there yet, how can you get to a place of more coherence between these two areas? So I hope that makes sense and that is helpful for you. Let's move on now to the next sign. All right, for our next sign, we have Leo. So I'm just shuffling the cards now and asking the tarot for some insight to share with our beautiful, fiery Leo friends. I know we just wrapped up Leo season and we're moving into the fall. So Leos, I hope you all had a wonderful season a few months ago. Let's see what might be lying ahead for you these next few months. We have the Knight of Swords and the Knight of Wands. Two knights here, two court cards with a little bit different energies, but it looks like this will be a very, very exciting and eventful time for you, Leo. Let's start with the Knight of Swords. Swords in the tarot correspond to our mind, our mental energy, our cognitive capacity. It's really that critical thinking side of our brain. And the Knight always represents valor and bravery and energy. They're the ones that just charge into battle. And they're young, but they're not as young as the Page, for example. So they have some more experience and some more energy. So combining these themes here, and especially given the visuals of the card, we can see that there's a lot of energy and movement in this sphere of your life. So maybe you're going to start thinking about things in a dramatically new way. Maybe you'll have a lot of insights or just a ton of energy that you want to pour into your intellectual pursuits, perhaps your career, not necessarily in the sense of needing to develop and earn more money, but in the sense of just really honing your skills and learning for the sake of learning. This Knight here is charging in super fast, so oftentimes this can signify a very quickly moving situation. Maybe there's going to be some really rapid change in your life over these next few months. The Knight here looks like he's kind of charging in and the horse is careening forward. The horse is maybe not fully in control. You can see the horse's eyes are even open wide. And so there's a little bit of a reckless energy here. This is not always a bad thing, but it is important to kind of balance this reckless, quick-moving energy with maybe some more grounding. I know everyone is familiar with that feeling when your mind is racing, going 100 miles per hour, and it feels difficult to kind of ground yourself in reality. This card can bring up a little bit of this energy, or it's reflective of that energy. So just make sure, Leo, that you're still taking care of yourself, you're still grounding yourself in whatever you need to do, that you're not just completely living in your mind during this time. We also have here the Knight of Wands. You can see that this card is still very quickly moving. The horse is still prancing forward, but it doesn't have that same kind of manic energy as the Knight of Swords. So wands in the tarot correspond to our passion, our energy and vitality, sexuality. It's the fire sign of the card, so it's that life force energy. And again, the same themes with the knight apply. It represents valor and bravery and fast movement. So here it looks like you will have a lot of ideas and energy to pour into a passion project. There might be something that really is exciting to you and you really want to move forward with. And this sign, again, it moves very, very quickly because it corresponds to fire. And as you know, fire can spread very, very fast. So these energies and this passion can take you very far in a short amount of time. Really, these are two of the most energetic and fast-moving cards of the tarot. So it might feel that your life situation is changing very quickly. It looks like this will be for the better, but of course, as I said, especially corresponding to this Knight of Swords energy, just make sure to ground yourself. And if you feel that things are moving a little more quickly than you might like, to be able to kind of come back down to earth and focus on maybe some more of those material aspects, or getting back in touch with your emotions and intuition might be a good way to kind of counterbalance this energy if it's feeling like too much. However, these are both very positive cards. They can bring a lot of benefits. They can bring a lot of change, a lot of movement. And so it looks like you're in for a bit of a wild ride. But at the end of this time, when it's time for the winter solstice, you'll have covered a lot of ground. And so I think you'll look back with some gratitude, some pride, and really see how far you've come. So I hope that is the case for you, Leo. Please do let me know in the comments if there's something that you're looking forward to going on this ride over the next few months. And I hope that you'll come back to let me know how it does go when we do enter the winter solstice and that next chapter of time. So that's it for you, Leo. 2 nights. It looks very exciting, and I hope you get to experience all the positives of this energy and that you don't feel too out of control, but I think it will be a very good time for you. Now let's move on to our next sign, which is Virgo. Next up we have Virgo, and happy birthday to you all, Virgos. I know we are just now coming out of your signs season, so I hope you really enjoyed this time being at home in your own zodiacal season. I'm shuffling and asking for some insight specifically now to share with all my Virgos. Let's see what we have. The Knight of Cups and Strength. 2 great cards, and I really loved this energy together. They're very different, but I think they can complement each other really, really well. So let's start with the major arcana card here, which is Strength. As you can see, just visually, it's a very bright, beautiful card. The background is this gorgeous yellow, and the card depicts a beautiful woman taming this lion. She's gently holding his head and looking down very serenely, but she's clearly the one in charge in this situation. And this card is all about our inner strength and being able to tame the more wild aspects of ourselves in order to really develop a strong sense of purpose, in order to move forward in our life and accomplish what we want to. I always think of this Strength card as kind of the sister to the Chariot card. The Chariot is that really masculine, aggressive energy that is an expression of strength. And there's definitely a time and a place for that energy. Absolutely, sometimes we need to step into the Chariot and really be able to fight our way forward. But Strength is like the gentle sister to that card. It's much more about our inner strength, our inner knowing, being able to be firm in our values, but not necessarily aggressive or beating other people down because of it. And so this is a really, really beautiful card, and it always encourages us to cultivate that inner strength, to really work on taming whatever lions are inside of us, or perhaps around us, but with this very gentle and kind of calm energy. This card reminds us that strength does not necessarily have to be aggressive. There's a very solid, dependable, very healthy form of strength as well that we can also embody. And so it looks like, Virgo, this season will call on you to really step into this energy, and you certainly have the capacity to do so. This card doesn't come up unless you are able to really embody this type of energy, so it is very positive in that way. Also, you can see on the card, the woman has this infinity sign over her head, which shows that she has some sort of mystical, magical, even religious connotations to her. So this card is almost like a kind of meditative, Zen type of energy where you really draw on your inner reserves of strength. I think this fits Virgo so well because Virgos are often very, very grounded, very organized. And I think this kind of inner strength really makes sense for the personality type that I see Virgos having. So just keep leaning into this energy. And it is supported here with this Knight of Cups card as well. Cups in the tarot correspond to our emotions, our relationships with other people, our intuitive knowledge. And Knights in the tarot always correspond to bravery, progress, kind of valor in this area of our life. And so what does it mean for you to be brave in your emotions, brave in your relationships with other people? Often it looks like being vulnerable, and that is a side of strength as well. This knight also is more grounded than some of the other knights. His horse is moving forward, but he's not going as quickly. He's not as crazy as, for example, the Knight of Wands or the Knight of Swords. So this is a very, again, healthy, grounded, and very strong position to be in. So I see these two cards working together very well in this next chapter of your life here. It looks like strength will help you embody the Knight of Cups, and vice versa, the Knight of Cups, and really being strong and supportive in your emotions, in tune with your inner wisdom, will help you embody the Strength card. Both of these cards also just call for a lot of reflection. They call on you to really get to know yourself, get to know your values, what is important to you, who is important to you, and why is that the case? Once you have those clear guideposts in your life, those clear values that guide you, it becomes much easier to know what you have to act on versus what you can just let go. This is also the case because the cup can only hold so much. So you can hold a lot of emotions, a lot of relationships, but there's some things that you also have to let go or realize that it's not for you. And so being able to tame this inner lion and focus on the strength within will really help you to discern what is important and what is not. Also, the strength asks us to focus on what battles are worth fighting versus what we can just let go of. And so these cards together really show that these next few months will ask a lot of reflection of you. It might be a more quiet, kind of peaceful time. You might undergo a lot of emotional changes. For example, going through therapy or just really focusing on self-development during this time could be really good for you. And so this can look very different for everyone, but it looks like this will be less action-oriented. You'll still have things going on in your life, but that action will really prompt that internal reflection and inner learning. So I hope this is a very fruitful time for you, Virgo. That is all for this sign. Let's move on to our next sign. All right, our next sign is Libra. Libra, happy Libra season. I know we are just about to move into this season with our upcoming equinox here. So I hope you have a really wonderful Libra season. Happy birthday if this is your sun sign. I hope that this season brings you all the good things that you have been waiting for, wishing for, and working hard for. I'm just asking the tarot now to give some insight for all of my Libra friends out there. Shuffling one more time and then we will draw the cards. We have the Tower and the Page of Pentacles. Two very different cards, very different energies here. One major arcana and one minor arcana. And it looks like there will be a lot of change, but a lot of growth for you in this upcoming season. Let's start with the Tower. Perhaps one of the most dreaded cards of the tarot. People don't often love to see this come up, but I'm here to assure you that it's not necessarily a bad thing. The Tower, is a very, very dramatic card. There's no getting around that. As you can see here, this card depicts two people falling out of this tower. The tower is on fire, it's being struck by lightning, and there's just all this chaos around. The crown is falling out of the tower, as you can see, and the background is black with this gray. It's a very scary looking card, and it's never fun to see the tower come up for us. So I'm sorry that this is the card that the tarot has chosen to show us today. But as I said, it's not necessarily all bad. The Tower really represents something changing very dramatically, very quickly, and oftentimes it can feel very chaotic. This card comes up when a situation just completely turns on its head. Maybe something is really not what you expected. Someone or some situation ends up being really, really different than what you had thought. Or something that you thought was very stable ends up being not, and it just kind of falls apart from under you. So that can feel very frustrating. It can feel very chaotic, very destabilizing. And so that's why the Tower really gets a bad rap, because when this comes up, it can signify very dramatic change in your life. and change can be uncomfortable and hard to deal with, especially when you are seeing yourself in these figures that are falling from the tower. It can feel like, what is going on? Why is my life shifting so suddenly? I thought I had a good thing. Why is it being taken away from me? So it's not always the easiest card to deal with. However, in the tarot, the tower has to come down because there is something wrong with it. So the kind of backstory behind this is the crown is being cast out of the tower because there's a corrupt leader, or the king is not who we thought they should be. And so the whole tower has to come down, the whole system has to be rebuilt in order to create something new. So just think about your life in these next few months. It might not be obvious what your tower is right now, and it might also be a very small tower and not necessarily something that's really fundamental to your life. Nevertheless, expect a big change coming up in these next few months. Expect something to shift, and hopefully you'll see it when it happens. Hopefully it won't be as disruptive to your life as it sometimes can be. But just know that even in the moments of what seems like chaos, what seems super disruptive, it's actually clearing the way for something new to be built on the grounds of the old tower. Sometimes we have these structures in our life that aren't necessarily serving us, but it's really hard to kind of change them or get out from under them unless we have something really, really dramatic happen. And so that is sometimes what's going on with the tower, where there's something that we've built up in our life, but a change needs to happen. And so whether we can see it or not is the question. If we're clinging to it and it gets taken away, it feels very disruptive and very upsetting. But sometimes we can be the architects here. We can be involved in taking the tower down ourselves so that it feels more like a collaboration and not as chaotic. We do also have a fairly supportive card here with the Page of Pentacles. Pentacles do correspond to our material realm, our finances, our health, our home, the things that really ground us and that we can touch and feel in the world. And the page is like the intern of the tarot, or the apprentice. It is the energy of a young person that really wants to grow and develop in this area. They don't have all the maturity yet, but they have the enthusiasm that makes up for their lack of experience. And so it looks like there will be some sort of big opportunity for you to grow in this area. So whether it is your finances or your home or your health, there will really be something to focus on and ground yourself in during this chaotic energy of the tower. So maybe there is some sort of new opportunity that has to come up. Like if you thought you had a really stable job that you loved in a field that you loved, and all of a sudden you realize, oh, this really isn't for me, or it's not what I expected. There is an opportunity then to focus on doing something else. And maybe that can bring you this kind of page energy where you just are able to grow and mature in a different way than you had expected. And so whatever area of your life this transpires in, like I said, I hope it's not too crazy disruptive. But if and when the tower comes for you, just focus on grounding yourself on what you can control. So can you keep some sort of health routine going? Can you really focus on your home and making it clean and safe and beautiful and a real refuge for you in a crazy world? Can you focus on your job and really getting yourself secure in your employment, or even focusing on self-employment and being able to provide for yourself in a different way? All these are things you can kind of focus on, while the Tower is playing out in your life. So I hope that this is helpful, Libra. Please do come back and let me know if the Tower ends up transpiring for you. And I can't wait to see what changes and what progress you make in the material area of your life as well. That is it for you, Libra. Let's move on to our next sign. Our next sign of the zodiac is Scorpio. And Scorpio, you will be coming up next in the season, so happy early birthday. My rising sign is Scorpio, so I do have somewhat of an affinity for this sign. I think Scorpios sometimes have a bad reputation, but I love all Scorpios out there. So I'm shuffling and asking the tarot now for some insight that I can share with all of my Scorpio friends. Just shuffle one more time here and take 2 cards. Let's see. We have the Fool and the 5 of Cups. 2 energies that are quite different from each other. Again, I think these 2 cards can kind of ebb and flow over the next few months here, this period of time that we're talking about from the equinox to the winter solstice. So let's start with the major arcana card, which is the Fool. As you can see, card number 0 is the very, very first card of the entire tarot deck. And so the tarot is meant to cover all aspects, kind of all the range of human emotions that we experience throughout the course of our lives. And so the Fool, as the first card, is the very beginning of that entire journey. This young man is setting out. It's a beautiful day. There's this brilliant yellow background, and he is just so carefree, setting out with huge excitement, and he's ready to go on his adventure. Obviously, he doesn't know what awaits him because there's so many twists and turns in the tarot. There's cards that are so beautiful, amazing, and there's cards that are really devastating and challenging. And so this young man hasn't really gone through that yet, but he's just excited to be on his way and to experience everything that he's going to encounter on his journey. So the Fool is all about exactly that, starting a new adventure and really just setting off with your heart in the right place, with good intentions, with excitement, knowing that you're going to be on a long journey, but knowing that you are going to learn so much from that journey, no matter what comes of it. And so it looks like there will be some sort of true new start for you, Scorpio, in these next few months. Obviously, as I said, your birthday will be coming up if Scorpio is your sun sign. So maybe there's just something new you want to do this year, that your birthday, your solar return, marks the start of a new cycle. Maybe there's something for you that you've always been wanting to try, and you've decided, okay, you know what, this year I'm going to go for it, and I'm going to take the leap and try something new. The Fool sometimes can be also a new relationship or a big move. It can really look however it occurs in your life, but it just represents the start of a new journey, so that can come in many, many forms. Of course, there are some highs and lows along the journey, and we see one of these lows here in this 5 of Cups. Cups in the tarot correspond to our emotions, our relationships, and our inner intuitive knowing. And 5 in the tarot is often somewhat of a destabilizing card. 4 is the card of like real perfection and stability, So then when we move on to 5, we leave that stability behind and we come to kind of an uneasy situation. And here, this card, it is kind of like a card of disappointment, I would say. This figure is wearing all black, standing against this depressing gray background, and he has 3 cups that are spilled in front of him. His head is hanging down, and he just looks very sad and forlorn. So when this card comes up, it really just signifies some sort of disappointment. Something that we had thought just didn't quite pan out the way we thought it would. Maybe a relationship is just not as fulfilling as it once was. For example, maybe you just are feeling more distance with a friend that you used to be really, really close to, and that's kind of just dragging your energy down a little bit. This card is not catastrophic. It doesn't signal some sort of huge disruption in your emotional life or your relationships, but it just shows that there are some periods of maybe loneliness or disappointment, isolation, and that happens for everyone. It's really completely normal. The Fool is setting off by himself here, so it is kind of a journey that he has to go on by himself. He has his little companion dog here, but he really is a solo figure. And so sometimes it happens that you just have these moments of disappointment or isolation, and it's not the end of the world. It is a difficult energy, to be sure, but it's going to be okay in the end. The minor arcana is much easier to get over than a really big major arcana card. And so I really see these 2 cards kind of coming and going. If you've ever taken a solo trip, for example, in your life, you'll know that there are moments where you feel like the Fool and things are going really well, you're exploring, you're having fun, you're learning new things, being exposed to new people, you're having a great time. But then there are also moments where you wish you had a friend with you, maybe your trip isn't going quite as planned, and you experience some delays or some issues, and you really just feel like, man, I wish I had someone here with me to support me. But then, you come right back around to the Fool energy, and you're back on track and having a good time again. So I see these 2 cards ebbing and flowing throughout the next few months. Hopefully you will experience much more of the Fool, and I think you will, because that is, as I said, the major arcana card, so it is the more prominent energy of these 2. Nevertheless, if you feel yourself kind of getting down into this funk of this 5 of Cups, just remember to connect with other people. Because cups do correspond to relationships, the antidote to the more negative aspects really is to seek out connection with other people, work on your friendships, work on your relationships, and I suppose especially your relationship with yourself. And that will make the journey all the more enjoyable, and you can really embody this energy of the Fool and enjoy the ride. That's it for you, Scorpio. I hope that these next few months are really great for you. Let's move on now to our next sign. Our next sign is Sagittarius. Let's just shuffle and ask the tarot now for some great insight into Sagittarius. I love the fun, adventurous energy of Sagittarians. I feel like it's a really underrated sign. So, sending all my love to my Sagittarius friends out there. I'm going to shuffle one more time and draw the cards that will tell us what to look forward to over these next few months for the Sagittarians. We have the Six of Swords and the Ace of Swords. Two Swords cards. Swords in the tarot correspond to our mind, our logic, critical thinking. It's the air sign element, so it fits in very well. And swords can really be a difficult set of the tarot. They're really not the easiest cards to deal with because they can be very harsh and a little bit cold. But these are two of the better swords cards that we have in the tarot. And so I'm really glad to see these two come up, and they do complement each other in a very interesting way. So let's start with the Ace of Swords. Aces in the tarot always correspond to potential. It's kind of like the first step, really the 0 step before something really comes to fruition or comes to existence. So swords being the card that corresponds to the intellect, to ideas and the mind, and the ace being that kind of potential energy or that breakthrough energy. This card is all about really ideas breaking through, kind of having that moment where you snap your fingers and say, oh my gosh, I got it. You have that breakthrough, that eureka moment. And so when this card comes up, you'll be thinking about things in really different ways. You'll be engaging in new ideas. You'll be having just a different perspective on things. This card is always very good to see, especially if you're studying something or if you're interested in learning a new skill. I feel like when this card comes up, you're able to take in new ideas very, very quickly, and you're able to learn very rapidly and integrate this into your way of thinking. As you can see, the sword has this little crown on top of it, so it really signifies some victories, some breakthroughs, some real intellectual prowess. So this is a very, very good card to have come up for this time. It looks like you'll be having a lot of breakthroughs, a lot of new ideas, learning a lot during this season of time coming up. Also, we have the Six of Swords. This card depicts a family. There is a woman and a child sitting in a boat that is being rowed by this man. You can see on the right of the card in this bottom corner, the waves of the boat, or the waves of the water rather, are coming up next to the boat. But on the left side, the water is calm and clear. When this card comes up, it's about a transition from kind of a stressful, more turbulent time into a real peaceful, calm time. So it's all about letting go of some worries and some stress and focusing on getting to a place of more mental clarity and just kind of quieting your mind in that way. And so this is a really positive card as well. If you've been going through some times lately where your mind feels very either foggy or very overcrowded, it looks like this will be a good time to kind of slow down and move into a more peaceful area. And so I think it's very interesting that we have these two cards together, because the ace does look like innovation and forward progress and movement, but then the six is kind of progress in a different way, progress towards a more peaceful, quiet, and perhaps zen state of mind. So maybe you'll be encountering new ideas as to how to incorporate that, or maybe you'll learn new things that put your mind at ease in a way that you haven't previously experienced. So these two together just really show me that these next few months are going to be very much lived out in your mind. Of course, there'll be a lot of other activities happening in your life, as it always is. You know, you have to go to work, you have to just live your life as normal. But it looks like there will be a really significant mental shift for you, some real breakthroughs, and just some real progress in terms of how you perceive the world, maybe even how you perceive yourself. And so these are two pretty positive cards. It looks like this will be a very good time to develop your skills, even to kind of focus on meditation, or just thinking about how to live a more intentional life, how to get out of your head, but also just how to be at peace in your own mind. So I think this is a very nice pairing for you, and I hope that you get to experience both sides of the innovation and the calm that look like can be coming for you from now until the winter solstice. Again, these energies can ebb and flow. They might occur simultaneously, or you might have some weeks where you're focusing on one more than the other. But hopefully that they can work hand in hand. So the more you learn, the more you have breakthroughs, the more secure and at peace you feel, and it can just be a very positive ongoing cycle. So that is it for you, Sagittarius. I hope you have a really wonderful season coming up here this fall. Let's move on now to our next sign. Next up we have Capricorn. Capricorn are our winter babies, if this is your sun sign. Very grounded and just stable sign, which again I think is not as appreciated as it should be. I do really love the energy of Capricorns as well. So I'm shuffling now and asking the tarot for some insight specifically for you, Capricorn. What can we expect over these next few months? You'll be rounding up, coming towards your birthday, as I said. Let's see. We have the Page of Cups and the Three of Swords. Two very nice cards, very positive here, and it looks like there will be some different aspects of your life that you'll be working on in this upcoming chapter. Let's start with the Court card, our Page of Cups. Cups in the tarot correspond to our emotions, our relationships with other people, and our intuition. As you can probably guess, it's the water sign of the tarot. You can see this little fish in this cup gives us that hint as well. And pages in the tarot are all about enthusiasm and learning. They're like the interns of the tarot. They just really want to learn and grow and experience all they can in this area. And so their enthusiasm makes up for their lack of experience. So putting these two themes together, the page is all about just really pouring his heart out and growing in his relationships and his emotional realm. So it will really challenge you this upcoming period of your life to take some leaps in this area. How can you really grow and develop in terms of your intuition, in terms of your relationships with other people? How can you really develop your emotional capacity and your intuition? Is this something that you want to focus on? And if so, how can you make steps to doing that? The page just really encourages you to dive right in. So if there's something that you've been interested in, maybe a podcast or a book, or even just really getting into journaling and kind of doing a DIY situation, or doing a more formal approach such as therapy, it's a really good time to just go all in and use the enthusiasm that you have to carry you through. The page is always a very welcome sign for me because it just signifies a lot of learning and growth. And so it's always good to see that kind of enthusiasm in an area of your life. And so really focusing on your relationships, your intuition during this time. You don't have to be perfect. The page is not very experienced, so no one expects him to be an expert. So don't be too hard on yourself if you feel that you're learning but you don't know enough, or maybe you make mistakes as you're going. I know that Capricorns can be a little bit perfectionist, and so don't worry about that. Just try to let that go as much as possible and focus on being like a child and just soaking up all the information you can in order to really grow in this area. Also, we have the Three of Wands here. Wands in the tarot correspond to creativity, passion, energy, and vitality. And the 3 is, obviously it comes 1, 2, 3. And so the 3 is about building towards progress. The Ace is the potential. It's kind of the initial idea before something even starts. And then the 2 is about the start. 3 here, we're past the start and we're kind of setting out. So it's about building towards something. You have something you've probably already identified that you're passionate about and that you're working on. And this is just a time to keep building, keep working on it. But the 3 shows that you will experience progress here and you will be able to continue to develop something. This isn't just like a random hobby that you picked up once, got really into for a week, and then you set it aside. The 3 shows that this will be a more sustained project for you, or that there's really something here that you can focus on and return to throughout a longer period of your life, maybe even your entire life. And so these 2 cards can really complement each other quite well, I think. Even though they are about slightly different areas of your life, whereas the Cups is about emotion and intuition, and the Wands are about passion, they can really kind of feed off each other and complement each other in a nice way. So maybe something that you're working on in terms of your passion project really encourages you to delve deeper into your emotional realm, or maybe some new emotional insights or a deeper relationship then fuels your creative drive. For example, really inspires some art or some music that you're working on in a new way. And so I think these 2 cards can really form a positive cycle together, and it just indicates a lot of peaceful times, a lot of growth. There's nothing here that's a red flag. You'll just keep kind of developing and moving on as you have been, but with new insights along the way. So together, I think this is actually a really great team of cards for you, and it looks like a very supportive energy from now through the winter solstice. So please do let me know if this is ringing true for you, if there is something that you're working on and want to sustain, or if you are really interested in delving more into your relationships and your intuition. I hope that this upcoming season is really positive and productive for you, Capricorn. I'm wishing you all the best from now until the winter solstice, and do come back and let me know how it goes. Now let's move on to our next sign. Now it is time for Aquarius, our unique, fun, and funky friends that really just beat to their own drum. I love the energy of Aquarius. It's so innovative, it's so fun, kind of mysterious, but really, really interesting to me. So I love the energy of Aquarius, and I'm really sending you all the best for this upcoming season. I'm shuffling the tarot now and asking for insights specific to Aquarius. What can I share with our Aquarian friends out there? Let's see what we have in store for you, Aquarius. we've got the Five of Swords and Judgment. A very interesting pair to have here, and I think that they speak to each other in a really interesting way. Let's start with Judgment because it's the major arcana card, so it's the more prominent energy of these two. The art in this tarot card is very, very indicative of the meaning behind it. So you can see this angel that is very large at the top of the card. They're blowing a trumpet, and on the bottom of the card we have all these people that are gray and they're standing up out of their little coffin boxes. Also, we see the water here, so it looks like the land is flooded, and these people are all standing up out of their graves to greet the Angel of Judgment. So it's a very almost biblical card. It really harkens to those themes of the final judgment, so to speak. This card looks very dramatic, and it can be, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that crazy. Judgment does come up for us when we really have to reevaluate something. So either we're being called upon to pass judgment on someone or something in our lives, or we're on the receiving end of that judgment, and it's time for someone else to really evaluate us. This can happen maybe in a formal context, like in my readings for myself personally. I've pulled this card during exam season, which was a really literal interpretation of being judged, being evaluated in a specific way. So maybe you have some sort of job performance or some sort of check-in coming up. It can be about anything. So your health, maybe you have a wake-up call about. Maybe it is your career. Maybe there's some sort of relationship situation that transpires that you really say, wow, I have to take another look at this. And like I said, maybe you're being called to judge someone else. So maybe there's a situation that arises where you really say, you know what, I have to put my foot down and I have to do something here that really calls everyone's attention to this. And that's really what this card is. It's just a big wake-up call. And so this can come in many, many forms. It can be very loud and very dramatic, or it can be a little bit more subtle. Like I said, it doesn't have to be as crazy or as literal as sitting down for an exam. But maybe there's a situation that arises that really requires you to reevaluate something. Is it working? Is it not working? If it's not working, what are you going to do? Are you going to cut something or someone out? Are you going to restructure something? If things have been going well and it's time for judgment, you'll be rewarded in a certain way. You know, if you've really been studying and it's time for the exam, you're going to pass and you're going to be really relieved and very proud of your performance. But if you haven't been doing what you should be doing, then the judgment will come and it will reflect negatively on you. And the same is true if you're judging someone else. Obviously, you will be applying that same logic, but to their situation. And so it's important to be fair when we are in the situation where judgment comes up, because we can't just sweep things under the rug. Everything is really coming to light when judgment makes an appearance. So it's time to really open up the blinds, let the light in, and see the full picture in order to pass a fair and appropriate judgment. So it can be kind of intense, but it can also be a positive thing if you have been doing what you need to be doing. However, this Five of Swords looks like it might be time for a wake-up call in a different way. Swords in the tarot correspond to our mind, logic, and our intellectual thinking. And this card is kind of about when you have won at a certain situation, or you've come out on top, but you've kind of stabbed other people in the back to get there. We see here this figure is holding some swords. He's picking them up off the ground, and there's two figures in the background that are turning away from him. They look a little bit defeated and small. And this guy here has kind of a half smile on his face. He kind of has this gloating expression where he looks a little bit sneaky, a little bit devious. And so, as I said, this card comes up when maybe we've done something or accomplished something, but we don't feel great about how we've done it. And so, yes, maybe you made your point in a meeting and called out a coworker that, they stole your idea, but maybe you really derailed the meeting or you disrespected someone, and you don't actually feel really great about that. Again, it doesn't have to be that dramatic. Maybe there hasn't been any sort of substantial fallout, but you still know that your inner motivation wasn't exactly as pure or as wholesome as you portrayed outwardly. And so I can really see a situation coming up for you where maybe you are kind of flexing your intellect. Aquarians are very, very smart. It is an air sign, and so you have a lot to give and you have a lot of ideas, but maybe they're not in service of something that you actually want to be promoting, or maybe the ideas that you're bringing and the innovations that you want to try are more self-serving than you might want to admit. And so in that situation, the Judgment card might come up and say, hey, really look at this and be honest with yourself about what you're doing, what you're pursuing. On the other hand, you might see a situation where someone else is acting like this Five of Swords, and you really feel called upon to be the Judgment card for them and say, hang on now, what are you really doing? What are your true motivations? Let's all be honest. Let's bring everything to the light and kind of expose them for what they might be doing. So obviously this is a situation where you might need to tread a little bit carefully. You might need to be a little bit delicate because there can be hurt feelings, but as I said, judgment really just is about being fair and exposing what's already there. So again, if this is not you, then hopefully you are uncovering the truth and passing judgment on someone else. But if you feel that you have been acting like this Five of Swords, then maybe it's time to just do an internal audit, a judgment on yourself to make sure that you're acting in alignment with your true values. So Aquarius, it looks like this situation might play out in a few different ways for you. I'll be very, very curious to hear if you have any feedback, any thoughts about this situation. So please do come back after the winter solstice to tell me if this was true for you. That's it for you, Aquarius. Let's move on now to our next sign. Last but not least, we have Pisces. Pisces are watery and super intuitive sign of the tarot. And like I said, you might be the last sign of the year of the zodiac, but certainly not the least. Very powerful energy from Pisces. And so I'm asking the tarot for some advice for you specifically. What can we share with our Pisces friends for this upcoming season from now, this fall equinox, until the winter solstice? All right, Pisces, we have the Three of Swords and Temperance. So here it looks like we have one major and one minor arcana card, and I'm hoping that they provide some nice balance for each other, or at least that the major arcana, which is the stronger energy, helps to mitigate this Three of Swords. Normally I start with the major arcana because it is the more prominent energy, but here I want to start with the more negative aspect. And I say this with kind of a grain of salt because this card is not the easiest energy, but seeing as it is a minor arcana card, hopefully it passes quickly and it's not as bad as it might look at first glance here. Obviously, visually, this card just kind of shows you that it's not going to be a fun time. The Three of Swords show these three swords piercing a heart, and the background shows these clouds. It's gray, it's raining, and there's no people in this card, so we can't really base our understanding off anyone's expression or body language. So we just have this heart and these swords in the void against this kind of depressing gray background. Swords in the tarot correspond to our logic, our emotion, or excuse me, not our emotions, our critical mind, and our intellect. And so it's kind of interesting that these swords are piercing a heart because normally it has to deal with our mind more so than our emotions. Here, however, we see kind of a combination of them, and the three just shows some sort of heartbreak, some sort of a little bit of a disappointing situation. It's not quite a betrayal, but it does feel like something just, pierces your heart and really brings you down. It is not very fun energy. It can kind of hurt. It's that twinge of like, ouch, something really kind of backstabbed you or just kind of wasn't what you thought, and the situation is hurting you both in your mind and in your emotions. And so I'm very sorry to see this come up for you, Pisces. I know that you are a very emotional and very watery sign, so Pisces tend to feel things very, very deeply. So this may or may not be related to a personal situation. It could also just be kind of about overwhelm from the world. Obviously, there's a lot going on right now. And so Pisces, because you really do internalize a lot of things, you might just kind of feel this heaviness, this brain fog that really just is bringing you down and kind of bringing this cloud on your life for a little bit of this time. So as I said, being a minor arcana card, hopefully this energy does pass quickly and easily, and that it's not as major of a theme. And I say that because we have a very supportive card here in Temperance. Temperance depicts an angel, and they are standing with one foot in the water, one foot on the earth, pouring this water between them. And again, this card kind of has a lot of spiritual, almost biblical references. This angel is very powerful, and the balance between them being of the earth, showing that their feet are in the elements, but then they have wings because they're a celestial being, really shows that this Temperance touches all aspects of life and of ourselves. When Temperance comes up, it's all about choosing kind of a middle balanced path. So it's about avoiding really extreme actions. It's about not vacillating wildly between paths. Sometimes it's easy to let our emotions kind of yank us all over the place and to feel really, really up some days and really down other days. But Temperance comes in to remind us not to take any extreme actions, kind of wait things out, and just make sure that we are considering all sides of something before we proceed. So if you're feeling this heavy Three of Swords energy and you're feeling like, oh man, this world is really just dragging me down, or this personal situation, I want to do this, Temperance comes in and says, whoa, 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 I know you're hurting, I know that this is hard, but let's take a step back and reflect and think about the best path to go forward that is going to be beneficial to everyone. Temperance does have this beautiful sun that is coming up over this path. It shows that following this middle ground, this nice neutral path, is the best way forward. But temperance doesn't ask us to take no action. It just encourages us to be mindful when we are moving forward. So it doesn't mean that you just have to sit in your hurt or sit in the state of the Three of Swords. It does mean that you have to think carefully about how to proceed and not to act rashly or not to act out of just pure emotion that you feel blinded by. So again, these energies may come and go over the next few months. You might have some days where you feel really zen and really like embodying the energy of temperance, where you say, you know what, no, I'm balanced, I'm in control, I feel good. And then other days, this Three of Swords might kind of rear its head and make you feel a little more bogged down, a little more brain fog, maybe just a little more heavy energy. So again, I hope that these energies balance out, and when in doubt, just focus on this temperance. How can you just be more reflective, be more mindful? How will your actions impact other people? How will they impact yourself in the long run? Focus on that kind of just very broad, long-term perspective. And you'll be able to come out of this period in hopefully a different state of mind, having really weathered a challenging storm. I know you have it in you, Pisces. You, if anyone can kind of come through this time, it can be you. And so focus on temperance and you will definitely be able to succeed during this time of your life. So that's it for you, Pisces. Now I'm going to do a little conclusion and bid everyone goodbye before wrapping up. All right, everybody, that is it for this video. I hope you really enjoyed your readings for your sun, moon, and rising. And as I said in the individual readings, I really do hope that you come back and give some feedback. Let me know your thoughts. Are you excited about what you heard? Do you feel nervous about what's ahead? Just let me know how you're feeling as a result of this reading. As always, tarot is meant to be a tool for reflection. Nothing is set in stone. So if you feel a little bit uneasy about your reading, or if you feel like it wasn't what you had hoped for, don't worry. Things and situations can always change. So if you're interested in a more personal reading, or if there's a situation that's really on your mind, feel free to comment, and I love doing individual readings as well. You can check out my tarot Q&A playlist for that and get a sense. I love to answer people's individual questions, so please do keep your comments going. And as I said earlier, if you want to go back and watch your Summer Solstice reading, it might be really interesting to see whether that was true for you and how it played out. So please do let me know as well if you go back and see how things went from the summer to now, in order to get a sense of how the energy might play out from now until the winter solstice. So if you're celebrating the fall equinox, I hope you have a wonderful equinox. If not, I just hope the next few months ahead are really wonderful for you. I hope we all grow and learn and develop in new ways, have new adventures, and just continue to enjoy what is ahead for us. So thank you so much for watching. I'm really truly glad to have you here, and please do consider subscribing so that you never miss a video and that you'll see all my updates. I will have my October reading for all coming up very soon, so please do stay tuned for that as well. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.